So you said you still don't know what was going on.
Yeah.
How does that feel to have gone through 6 years of treatment and to be where you are now and still not know what was happening?
It's, knowing now what I know now, there are doctors that don't believe in unexplained infertility. There are doctors who will do everything under the sun to get to a root cause of something. And I think in some cases there's value in that. But for me, I'm very, once I got my happy ending, I don't care what it was or how I got there. Or I did have a very traumatic birth, which I won't go into the crazy version of the story, but I had to have an emergency hysterectomy right after I gave birth to my twins. I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm not just saying it. But I asked them to send my uterus to pathology, and I was convinced they were going to find silent endometriosis or something so rare that nobody's ever even seen it or heard of it. And that was going to be my big tell. And they didn't. It was totally fine. So I really still don't know. I think I did do an autoimmune protocol. There was no evidence that I needed to or that I had any autoimmune disorders, but my doctor was like, let's just try it, which I appreciated. And I really, to this day, I don't know what it was. I don't know. It's crazy. And of course, it's so easy for me to say now because I have my beautiful family. They were the ones I was meant to have, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. And I got really lucky, especially because I had to have a hysterectomy and I got 2 instead of 1. I think I would have had a much harder time with the hysterectomy if I had only had 1 child and didn't have the option. Not that I probably would have ever been able to have another, but that I wouldn't have had the option at all. So I feel very lucky. I feel like my uterus was like, you've done enough to me. I'm done. Goodbye. And I was like, goodbye. Then thank you for your service,
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you
You
for
can
your
see
service.
actually above here. Do you see my crochet uterus up there?
I do. That's great.
Isn't that amazing? That's the only uterus I have now. It's a crochet one hanging on my wall.
I mean, one of the things I'm appreciating is the humor and positivity that you have now. And you admitted that it's because you can look backwards and things were worked out in a way that is beautiful. But how do you hold on to the humor and the perspective in the midst of all of these ups and downs?
I think it's really hard. I think you have to sort of not expect that you're going to. I think that there's a very much the grief, I think in any grief, but especially the grief of infertility and pregnancy loss, there's am I ever going to laugh again? Am I ever going to smile again? Am I ever going to feel joy again? And if you know, because you've been through grief in various other ways, it does come at some point. And time heals. And when you're in the infertility journey and every minute you're not pregnant feels like a decade, but you don't, right? The last thing you want to hear is that time healed. But once you can have some perspective on it, or after the first loss or the first failed round and how hard we took it, then the second one, it sucked, but it took a little less time to recover from. We were just kind of right? You learn what you can bear. I don't want you to have to bear a lot, but you learn what you can handle. And I think for better or worse, having gone through it so many times, we got a little, it got a little bit lighter each time until it got a little bit heavier. And we couldn't believe we were doing our 6th round and it still wasn't working. But mental health is so important. Thank God we are all talking about that a lot more these days.
Hi, I hope you loved this little excerpt of Stork'd, the podcast where we talk about all things family building and families. This was a little taste of the bigger episode. We call it a Stork'd Munchkin. If you love what you heard, I highly encourage you to check out the full episode wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find it on the Stork'd website at storkdpodcast.com. If you're in the process of building your own family or exploring what family means to you and you want to stay up to date on all relevant topics related to family building, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. It's called Let's Start a Family, and it is found on Substack. Happy listening.